Jacobson, can you do a mic test? Here. Yes, I can hear you in my ear. Jake is doing it for the chamber. Talk one more time.
Yes, can you hear me okay here?
Okay, talk again.
Okay, me here. I'm here waiting for the meeting to start.
Jacobson, do a mic test.
Testing, testing, can you hear me? Me? Hello?
Great.
Is this good?
I mean, he's still stir we can hear him.
We can hear you. Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to the City of Sugar Land City Council meeting for Tuesday, November the 7th. A little bit about our agenda tonight. In a minute, I'm going to do the invocation. And then we're going to invite Andrew Say up, and he'll do the pledge to the nation's flag and the pledge to the Texas flag. And then we're going to have a special recognition. And following that recognition, we'll go to our standard agenda. If you'll stand and bow your heads with me, please. Heavenly Father, we just love you. We ask that you look after all the residents in our city, look after our staff and their families and our council member and their families. Father, give us the wisdom that we need in order to make the right decision for our citizens tonight. Father, we know with all the things going on in the world events, Father, we ask that you take control of all things and that it be done in your will and not man's will. Father, we ask all these things in the name of our beloved Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And in his name we pray. Amen. Andrew, you want to come down and join me? Andrew is the Houston Chronicle Best of the Best 2023 award winner, and he's with Montessori Reggio Academy. He's 8 years old. He moved from California to Texas as quick as he could. We'd like to highlight him because he's a dedicated individual who consistently demonstrates excellence in his academic pursuits. What sets him apart is his creativity and ability to think outside the box. You might want to come to work for the city. Which adds a unique dimension to his approach to learning. In addition to his academic skills, Andrew embodies qualities such as kindness, curiosity, and care toward his peers and teachers. He's always willing to lend a helping hand, whether it's assisting classmates or supporting our educators. Andrew, welcome to City of Sugar Land City Council meeting. And I'm going to turn the mic over to you for a pledge to the nation's flag, which is right there, and the pledge to the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
With liberty
and justice for all.
And now to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, indivisible,
God bless Texas. Thank you, sir. And now I'm going to ask Melanie Beeman, our Transportation and Mobility Coordinator, to come down and introduce our guest tonight. We've got a special recognition.
Task force members to please come forward so we can all look at you. In September 2019, City Council approved a resolution to create a citizen task force for the Mobility Master Plan project, known as the Mobility Task Force, and appointed 23 members in January of 2020. The purpose of the Mobility Task Force was to receive and process extensive public input during the development of the Mobility Master Plan and to make a recommendation to City Council on the final plan's adoption. The Mobility Task Force met regularly throughout the creation of the Mobility Master Plan over the course of 3 years, providing guidance on the core values, transformative mobility network, strategies and action items, mobility metrics, and the implementation framework. The task force took into consideration input from their neighbors and other members of the public that they heard from during multiple public engagement events, which informed and guided the plan's development. Their effort was essential to shape the plan into the final product, which was adopted by City Council this past July. The City of Sugar Land would like to recognize and thank the Mobility Task Force for their hard work and dedication. We would like to present a specially designed Mobility Master Plan Mobility Task Force commemorative coin to each of the members. And if the city staff that's present here that worked on the plan, if they could also come forward for a group photo. There might be a few.
Come on, Ruth. Monique. There we go. Here, can I get y'all to step? Let me get y'all to step this way. We'll get, there we go.
And then I don't know if the city council can come down too for the photo.
Well,
Can we all
before we
gather?
do that, I want to, on behalf of our citizens and on behalf of our council, thank you all. You probably didn't know you were signing up for 3 years. We probably didn't know either. But thank you for your dedication and the report that you delivered is something that, you know us, we don't put it on a shelf. We're going to live it. So we'll take, what y'all came up with and we'll incorporate that into an action plan for the city of Sugar Land. So you'll get to see the benefits of what you recommended. Council, if you guys will all come down, please. Mike, Meredith.
We might have to have like a third row here. time's a charm.
I remembered. Oh, no, Mommy. I don't know where she went. Was she outside? Was she with us in the picture? Yes.
Item number 2 is public comment. Do we have anybody signed up? No, sir. No, nobody? Move on to item number 3. Item number 3 is the consent agenda. Everything on the consent agenda is going to be taken as one item and one motion, unless we have a council member that wants to pull an item. Everybody good? Do I have a motion? Motion to approve. Got a motion by McCutcheon. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second by Watley. You'll vote at this time, please. Perfect. Thanks, Stuart.
He put his hand up.
You did.
Yes.
Hand vote for the council members. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. Item number 4, contracts and agreements. 4A, consideration of an action on authorization of a construction contract with Raytech Construction Resources, Inc. in the amount of $13,889,450 for the Austin Park and Chimney Stone Drainage Improvement Project. And we've got Greg Nichols, our senior project manager. Greg.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Like the Mayor said, I'm here to present the contract for the Austin Park Chimney Stone Drainage Improvements Project. There's a little bit of background on the project. We completed a drainage study for Austin Park, Settlers Grove, and Chimney Stone post-Hurricane Harvey. Study identified areas that far exceeded city's master drainage plan performance criteria. These areas regularly experience excessive street ponding. Some homes experience flooding during Hurricane Harvey. Austin Park Chimney Stone Drainage Project, included in the 2019 voter-approved GEO bond program, and design was completed in fiscal year 23. These projects will reduce flooding risks and street ponding depths during major rain events. This is an overall map showing the project limits. You see the area there in purple is a 10x6 box going in there, and then the little area going to the north, that's kind of a purple shade too, is in Acacia Street. It actually has some box culverts going in along the street there to provide some relief for the homes in that area. The green indicates more boxes, 10x6 there, going down along Commonwealth, and then once it gets to Austin Parkway, it changes it into open channel for the remainder of the project. And there's a little line running back to the west there that's an open swell that's within the center point corridor there to provide some relief for that area. Project scope: construct a 10x6 storm trunk line between Ditch A and the Acacia Drive outfall. Storm sewer improvements from 24-inch to 54-inch along Acacia Drive. Construct a storm trunk line between Acacia outfall and Austin Parkway. Construct a drainage channel between Austin Parkway and Thistlewood Drive. The channel will be 8 feet deep, 48 feet wide at the top. The bottom will be 16 feet wide. Place and compact the excavated material for the channel is going to the city's training facility site. We've got line items in there for actually how that material is to be placed and compacted. That's going to help us with our future plans for that site. The bid phase, the invitation to bid was advertised August 2nd and August 9th, 2023. Bids opened September 4th. We actually had 10 bids. We had to disqualify one as it was incomplete. Here is our rundown of the bids that we received. If you see, Raytech Construction was our low bidder at about $13.8 million, and it ranges all the way to $18.3. Our engineer's estimate, including a 10% contingency, was $14,200,000. Texas Water Development Board loan. The city obtained a flood infrastructure fund loan from the Texas Water Development Board. It was approved on May 6, 2021. It was for $16.5 million. It was a zero interest 30-year loan for design and construction. The potential savings of approximately $7,600,000 over the lifespan of the loan. This is based on a 30-year maturity schedule and current interest rates. Project funding and schedule. As I emphasized on the previous slide, we had a $16.5 million loan from the Texas Water Development Board. And after design and right-of-way acquisitions, our current balance is $14.9 million. Our construction contract that we're considering right now is for $13.8 million. The construction administration contract for $137,171 was on consent this evening, as well as the construction materials contract for $249,500 was also on consent. Total project needs are $14,276,121. That leaves us a balance of $635,129, or a 4% contingency to complete any foreseen items in the project. As you can see, this is a large project. We have about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half completion schedule. Public engagement, we held 2 meetings. One was April 6th, 2022, and one was October 23rd, 2023. HOA, we shared project information and associated schedules all throughout the design process with the HOA, so they're on board. We've been coordinating with LID 2. All of this water is going to be conveyed into LID 2 infrastructure, and they've been reviewing design, and they are also on board. We've made contact with Fort Bend ISD about transportation. It looks like the elementary schools are close enough to where there is no bus routes in the project limits, but high school does have some buses. We'll be coordinating with them more as we get closer to the phase in the neighborhood there that might impact them. A request for approval. We're looking for you guys to authorize the execution of a construction contract with Raytech Construction, Inc. for the Austin Parkway Chimney Stone Drainage Improvement Projects, CIP, CDR 2101, in the amount of $13,889,450. And let me add, Mr. Stephen Aranda from Raytech Construction is here with us tonight. He's also a local Sugar Land resident. We have not worked with Raytech directly in the past, but we've checked out references of similar completed project, and everything checks out good. Everybody has been happy to work with them, and we're looking forward to working with them on this project. Any questions for staff?
Anybody? Welcome. Thanks for coming out. Anyone? Rashad?
Mayor?
I think Stuart has one too. Greg, thanks for the information. The loan that was approved in 2021, I'm assuming it's still valid. There's no expiration based on when the loan was approved.
No, sir. We've been in contact with the Texas Water Development Board, and we're currently working with them, and they'll be awarding us the construction funds as soon as we get the contract in place and they've approved it.
Okay, thank you. And then a follow-up, Mayor. The Fort Bend Independent School District, you mentioned there's no bus services to the elementary, but the kids that are going to be walking to school, is it going to affect their route, and have we looked into that yet?
We have been looking into that a little bit. There is some of the storm sewer that's going in the street on Arcacia Drive, and we'll be coordinating with the residents when we get into the neighborhood. If we need to shift sidewalks to the other side of the street just to make things safer for the kids, we'll be looking at that and coordinating at that point.
Yeah, you said the key word, safer, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, yes, sir.
Stuart, do you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. As this is a District 3 project, which has been a long time in the making, I would like the honor and the joy to accept.
I've got a motion by Jacobson. Do I have A second.
Yeah, I'll second the motion, and I'll add that this area was in my district during Hurricane Harvey, and I spoke with a number of residents whose homes flooded, and I'm absolutely thrilled that this project is moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Got a motion by Jacobson, second by McCutcheon. Any other questions, discussion with the council? You'll vote at this time, please, hand vote. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you, council members. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Item number 4B, consideration of an action on authorization of a contract with Paradigm Traffic Systems, Inc., in the amount of $727,895 through the By-Board Cooperative Purchasing Contract number 695-23 for the purchase of Applied Information's GPS Emergency Preemption System for the Traffic Signal Management Intelligent Transportation Project, CIP, CTR 1503. We have with us James Turner, our city traffic engineer. James.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight for your consideration is the emergency or the GPS emergency system. So, preemption system. So what is preemption? Basically, it's the process of overriding the normal signal operation. Most commonly known for emergency services, but it can be used for trains. But what we have today in the city is basically we have infrared transmitters on the emergency vehicles as they approach the signal. As you can see in this image, there are receivers on the signals that receive that signal and prioritize that vehicle through the traffic signal. One of the things required for this system is line of sight. So the vehicle needs to be in line with those receivers, which sometimes can be an issue. We have tree cover, the big vehicles in front of the fire truck is pretty big, but as you get further away, the line of sight can sometimes be a challenge. Maintenance, the system is 20 plus years old, which sometimes we have found conduit that has collapsed. Repairing that conduit is pretty expensive, so maintenance is now becoming an issue. The city has been investigating replacing this system for a little bit, and we are very high on the GPS preemption system. And what's that entail? Of course, it's going to have a GPS unit on the emergency vehicle. This is used for tracking the speed of the vehicle, the direction as it approaches the traffic signals. This system will use cell as the primary communication, but it also has a redundant radio communication on the vehicle as well. One of the biggest benefits that we get from the system is trying to clear traffic before the engine gets to the signal itself. And if you can see this image here, you can imagine that red circle approaching Brooks and 6 here in this image. As the vehicle puts its left turn signal on, it's going to try to push that traffic accordingly through Lifetime, Fluor, and down the line. So that is the biggest benefit. The system, of course, now can have more metrics, so we can track its performance, vehicle trip reports, and such to make sure that it's operating as required. A little bit more detail on the system, just again at a high level. This is the VPU unit that I mentioned is going to be on the vehicle itself, and there's a field monitoring unit that is in the traffic cabinet. The engine primary communication is through the cell. The cell goes to the cloud, and it comes back and talks to the traffic signal. If for some reason there is low comm for the cell, it can redundantly hit the traffic with the radio signal. As soon as the engine turns on the lights, that's when it starts communicating to the cloud and starts looking at which direction it's going, making sure that we try to move traffic ahead of the engine. So the city got with the fire department and EMS, and we started discussing all the available systems on the market. We looked at them at a high level. We had meetings. At the end of the day, between traffic and EMS, we decided to go with Applied Information System, which is the system that we're recommending tonight. We got with Paradigm Traffic Systems and said we would like to test it out. And so they obliged. We set up the system on a fire truck on Fire Station 1. And we set up the equipment needed from Brooks to 59 on State Highway 6, which is one of our most heavily congested areas in the city. Through that evaluation, which we started that in April, we had great feedback, we had great results. This is just, in the image you can see, this is the actual system tracking this engine on October 19th. It traveled at 45 mph from Brooks through 59. That's, you know, it was at approximately 10 o'clock, 11, it's not the worst. But when I was looking at the reports, most of the time, some of the other calls were for the other direction, but still applicable nonetheless. Fire had great feedback. They said they would have to fight somebody if they came to try to take the system off the engine. So we take that as a compliment. Mutual aid, compatibility. This lends itself to the future. We've heard that Fort Bend County is gearing up to also deploy this in the county. So the county coming here, us going to the county, the systems will be compatible at the end of the day. I want to thank staff. Eric Wagner is here. Kyle Ricks, Tam Du, through the evaluation process, coordination. There was a lot of effort to go through this as we evaluated the system. Paradigm Traffic Systems is also here, represented by Lance Channon as well. And I thank them for allowing us to deploy the system and trying it out for 6 months. It was very kind of them. Procurement, we're recommending to procure the system through the Texas Buy Board. So contract 69523, this is basically a statewide co-op that bids it out statewide. It tries to provide the best prices in the state. We're trying to use that piggyback off that contract. We're procuring 25 vehicle units, 92 intersection units, and 10 years worth of cell communications as well. They will also help install the system, and this will be funded through CTR 1503 in the amount of $727,895. The city, we are recommending that we authorize this contract with Paradigm Traffic Systems in the maximum amount of $727,895 for the purchase of Applied Information's GPS emergency system via CIP CTR 1503. And I'll take any questions.
Questions, council members? Suzanne.
Thank you. James, this is exciting, and I didn't know you were doing it this long, so kudos to you for doing it without everybody knowing about it.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions, and I seem so loud. Does this system have the ability to expand to more units for, like, police?
We contemplated that, and that's still on the table. But right now, the preemption system currently is deployed for emergency and fire. That's something that we can consider in the future.
Okay, follow up.
Follow.
And with the traffic and the safety issue, that's great, because I'm assuming that because they get more time to respond, that we're safer. But are we seeing response times that are increasing or decreasing with fire?
I wish I had those metrics. At this time, I couldn't compile those in time.
Okay.
But I'm sure with the new system, as we deploy it throughout the whole city, we will be able to produce those.
I'm sure we will. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Got a motion by Watley. Do I have a second? Got a second by Kermali. Any other questions? If not, hand vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. I'm now going to turn it over to, I have a conflict. I'm going to turn it over to our Mayor Pro Tem, and he will lead us through item number 5.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 5, ordinances and resolutions. A, consideration and action of City of Sugar Land Resolution number 23-37, a resolution of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, authorizing and approving membership in the city served by CenterPoint Gas Cities for the purpose of protecting the interest of the city and its citizens with respect to CenterPoint matters, further suspending the December 4th, 2023 effective date of the Statement of Intent of CenterPoint Energy Resources Corporation, DBA CenterPoint Energy Intex, and CenterPoint Energy Texas Gas, to change the rates in this Texas division, to permit the city time to study the request, and to establish reasonable rates, finding that the city's reasonable rate case expenses shall be reimbursed by the company, authorizing participation with the cities served by CenterPoint Gas, and hiring legal and consulting services to negotiate with the company and to direct in any necessary litigation and appeals. And we have with us already Meredith Reedy, our city attorney.
Thank you. I think the caption pretty much tells you the entire intent of the resolution. Yes, sir. I don't have a presentation for you. I'm happy to answer any questions. I do have their proposed rates by class. So they're proposing a monthly residential rate of $21.95, small customer of $27.93, commercial industrial of $470.37, with an increased net annual gas revenue of $37.4 million per year.
Meredith, in English, what all, the legal that I read, what does it mean to us as council and what does it mean for our citizens?
Absolutely. So by law, CenterPoint, SeaEnergy, or anybody else providing electric or gas services are required to provide the city notice of any rate increases. We belong to a coalition of cities, and we always join together to have an expert investigate and determine whether or not the rates are reasonable. We recognize that there are costs involved to providing services, maintaining the lines, and ensuring that the lights stay on. We just want to make sure those are reasonable. So the resolution before you tonight consents the city joining a coalition of cities that are only affected by this particular one rather than our general one because the United Way is involved. It keeps them from putting the rates into effect on December 4th. It pauses that, continues our current rate schedule. It also allows us to hire a law firm with a consultant to look at the rate schedule and determine whether or not the rates are reasonable, and if we determine they're not, to help us litigate and appeal them down. The language that's not included in the resolution caption, but is in the resolution itself, is a provision that requires the company CenterPoint to reimburse us and the other cities for all costs incurred to make this determination.
Any other questions? Suzanne?
I have one quick question. Should we not be successful in this suit, do we have to pay retroactively on the rates that would have occurred on December 4th?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? I have a motion by McCutcheon.
Second.
Second by Lane. And I think we'll do a hand vote again. And we're 6-0 with the mayor recusing. Thank you.
And we have our smiling city attorney here. 6A, review of and discussion on methods to appoint the 2023 Charter Review Committee. Meredith.
Thank you. So this evening, we're going to talk about a couple of options you have to appoint your Charter Review Commission. As you know, the city's charter requires you to appoint a Charter Review Commission every 5 years. The last one was in 2018. Your fellow council member, Stuart Jacobson, also served on that committee. I'm sure he has fond memories. So the charter, the commission that you select, will be required to review the charter and provide you a written report. We expect that written report to be done probably early next summer. So tonight I'm going to ask you what selection process you would like to follow and how many members. You have historically had 5 to 7 members appointed to the charter committee. So just looking at most recently, in 2008, you had a subcommittee. 2013, each of you looked at the applications and ranked your names, so we picked our top 5. And then the last time in 2018, you met together in a workshop, looked at the applications, and selected 7. So how many would you like?
I'm going to suggest that we go with what we did in 2018, which is applications, and then select from the applications.
All right, and how many would you like so that we could post that?
Same number.
You're talking about how many applicants?
Yeah, well, how many commissioners? Last time you had 7. You have waffled between 5 and 7 for the last 3.
I think it's probably 7. I've been through this a number of times. Has anyone else been through this besides me?
Councilman Jacobson served in
Yeah.
2018.
Hey,
Yeah.
oh, I served back in 2003 on this. A long
Okay,
time
so
ago.
yeah, I mean, we need to have some people, we've had judges, we've had attorneys serve we do need some legal guidance, so I'd probably say 7, Meredith, would be my preference.
All right.
Stuart, you okay with that?
Yeah, 7 was a workable.
Fantastic. So now that you've decided on 7, we will open applications this coming Friday, keep them open through December 1st, and we will put an agenda item on your first meeting in December for you to look at the applications and pick your 7 top candidates and select a chair. We will have them convene in January, and we hope to have a report to you in June or July.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Meredith. Item number 6B, review of a discussion on methods to appoint the 2023 Independent Ethics Review Task Force.
Thank you. So, just like the charter review, you get to have the Code of Ethical Conduct reviewed every 5 years. Last December, you passed an ordinance adding that provision. So the code was originally adopted in 2017, and as I just mentioned, in 2022, last December, you went ahead and add a provision to have a 5-year review. So, here we go again. What is your preferred selection process and how many members? I came up with 4 suggestions. You can appoint the existing board. You can open up the applications. You can each appoint a member like you did for redistricting, or whatever else you might want to decide. If you're curious as to my preference would be to use number 1, as these individuals could probably tell you the code of ethics in their sleep. They know it even better than I do, which is hard to believe. It is my favorite thing. But I would recommend doing them because they have been through some hearings and they, like I said, can do the code in their sleep. But this is your selection. Let me know.
Council members, everybody okay with 1? Okay. William?
1.
You 1? Stuart, you okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so at that same first meeting in December, when you get to pick your charter review, you'll have an item on the agenda appointing the Independent Ethics Review Board as the Independent Ethics Review Task Force. And they will also come back to the report hopefully in June or July.
Well, this next one is my favorite part.
It's my favorite too, Mayor.
Item number 7, the annual ethics training. 7A, receive training related to the Sugar Land Code of Ethical Conduct and state laws regulating ethics and reporting responsibilities of city officials.
This is my favorite as well.
I know it is. What you have it in store for us. I know you spent time on this.
Well, because I enjoyed it so much last year, we're going to do Cards Against Ethics again.
Oh, there we go.
I have several requests, so I will let you know next year will be different, but you will have to wait and see. So what are the objectives of our game this evening is to receive an overview of the Code of Ethics, and you're going to go ahead and check that box and get your annual training as required by the code. So who are the contestants? You all are the contestants, as well as members of our administrative advisory boards, sometimes former city council administrative advisory board members, and candidates for city council. You may notice the audience behind us is a little bit light this evening. For this year, I have made some changes to the questions, and each individual board gets personalized training and questions.
Oh, man, look
just
at you.
for them. So let's go over the rules of the game. You must follow these 8 items: disclose conflicts of interest, just get to brag about gifts, get to talk about when you're related to certain vendors, can't do business with the city, can't make representations and appearances at other boards in certain circumstances. I'm asking you not to misuse city property, and limit your participation in procurement process and campaign activity involving city employees. So let's go over the fun stuff. Conflicts of interest, a special economic benefit. Let's talk business entity, rule of 10 and 15. If you, your spouse, your parents, or your children own 10% or more of a company, 10% or more of the voting stock of that company, or receive 10% or more of their income, last annual income from the company, or own $15,000 or more of the fair market value of that business entity, they have a special economic benefit. in that item, they need to file a COI with the city secretary's office and recuse themselves from the item. What is real property? It's the rule of 25 or the rule of 2.5. If you own $2,500 or more in the value of real property, you are conflicted from voting on that item. One idea to help you keep in mind is you're going to get a little notice in the mail. You live within 200 feet of this property. You get that notice in the mail, that is a guarantee that you have a conflict of interest, and you probably need to file that COI and step out. If you're 201 feet, state law says you're okay. So state law is very specific of both our zoning code and the plating and rules and regulations in the local government code. Is that magical 200 feet. So what do? File your conflicts of interest statement, city secretary's office, abstain, and go ahead and take a walk outside. So when do you get to brag about being related to a vendor? When you and that vendor have a relationship where you receive taxable income from that vendor that exceeds $2,500, or you're related to them within the third degree of consanguinity or second degree of affinity. Let's talk about gifts. It is the holiday season. Somebody's going to want to give you that turkey so you can just celebrate Thanksgiving and you can vote for their item. I'm going to ask you to be very careful on that. So when you get gifts, you must brag and fill out a form with the city secretary's office for gifts of lodging, transportation, entertainment, and food that exceed $100 from an individual vendor within a calendar year. You will notice a little asterisk next to the word food, because if you are a guest of that vendor where you're sitting close enough to that vendor to have a conversation, you get to go up to $500. As I like to say every year, it's the holiday season. Order that second dessert. If you're a drinking person, get that fancy bottle of wine. Additional rules. Doing business with the city. As city council members, you cannot have a significant contract with the city. What is significant? It's $1,000 or more for the entire term of your office. So if you're a short-time person, you're only here for 3 years, you can only spread that over 3 years. If you get to go the whole distance and go 9 years, you've got 9 years to not spend that full $1,000. Representations and appearances. This is where we talk about what hat you're wearing. So if you're going to make a statement to the editor, post on Facebook, be very cautious and remember what hat you're wearing. Say, in my capacity as a resident or in my capacity as a council member. I will let you know that you are special, more special than any other board. It's going to be very hard for you to take that hat off. Just about everybody out there is going to say, you're talking as a council member. You can say, no, I'm a resident of this subdivision. They're not going to believe you. Just keep in mind that you probably always have that hat on. Representations and appearances also applies that you cannot go in front of another board in the city and represent somebody else for income while you're sitting here or for 2 years after you're off. And now while it's your own individual board, as members of city council, you are considered as working for every board and serving on every board. The only exception to going in front of the board is if it pertains to your property itself. You do have a right to go in front of P&Z, ZBA, BSC, in your capacity as a resident, if that is your address. You can say, I live at 123 Sesame Street, and I'd like to talk about this in my capacity as the owner or resident of 123 Sesame Street. Keeping in mind that once you put that hat on, it doesn't come off. So while you may go and wear that and say, I'm special here, you're not special. In this room, you have to leave if the item comes before this board. Misuse and disclosure of official information. You're all extremely smart people. I know that any information that you receive in your capacity as a council member that is confidential, you're not going to go tell anybody else. You're going to respect the process and you're going to keep that confidential like you always do. Participation in procurement. We follow all state purchasing laws. We have bids posted through a certain vendor and we go online and everything goes back through our purchasing department. We ask that you do not participate in the procurement process. We want to make sure that all bids are received fairly and nobody gets special information or an additional benefit. One issue that covers is also your ability to disclose your relationship with your vendors or receiving gifts from them. We do have a practice whereby if we find out that a vendor has contacted you or you have contacted a vendor, we disqualify them because we want it to be an open, fair process. Campaign contribution. So this shouldn't come up very often, but if for some reason somebody decides to sue the city for, say, $25,000 or more, including the court costs and attorney's fees, you cannot accept a campaign contribution for that. The goal of that is to make sure that it appears that you're not in the back room negotiating a deal for somebody who is financing your campaign. So I went through that kind of quick, although I absolutely love it and be happy to answer any questions you might have. But if you can't sleep tonight or just want to read the whole thing word for word, front to back, it's found in Chapter 2, Article 4 of the city's Code of Ordinances. But you say, you know what, I have questions, Meredith. I read it, but I just really like this, and I know how much you like it. You're absolutely able to call me up, send me an email, and ask for a written opinion, or talk through the questions with me. I'm more than happy to do that. So what happens if somebody decides they don't want to follow these magical rules? Well, they can file a written complaint. The city attorney, myself, gets to review that complaint, and then it goes to the Independent Ethics Review Board. So how do you file a complaint? Oh, too fast. You file a complaint. It must be signed, sworn, and it must state the name of the person who is accused of violating the code, the section of the code that is accused to be violated, and it must be within 2 years of the date of the violation. It must be filed. There are 2 years of the date of the violation, or the 2 years of the time that the person who is making the complaint found the violation. So it says I get to review it. What do I look for? I look to see if it's signed and sworn, if the person accused of violating the code is subject to the code, and if the violation is something that's covered by the code. So if they say that Meredith Reedy likes bananas and she bought 4 instead of 3, even the sign said 3, I'm not subject to the code, it's not a valid complaint. I can go buy that banana. So I look at it and I determine all those things are done, it's signed and sworn. That now goes to the Independent Ethics Review Board, and they look at it. It's a 2-step process. The first step of the process is they go, yes, the city attorney has looked at it. She has verified that all these things are met. We agree, all these things are met. Now, if all these things are met and we believe every allegation, do we think it might be a violation? Yes or no? If they say yes, we think it might be a violation, it goes to stage 2. If they look at it and go, this is crazy, I don't know why the city attorney sent it to us, and they send it home, it doesn't go any farther. I will let you know that I will always, always, always send that complaint to the Independent Ethics Review Board if it meets the qualifications of the name of the person involved, the name of the complaint is included, it's the 2 years time frame, and that it's signed and sworn. It's their obligation to make that determination because you have appointed that position. It's not mine. Sanctions. So if the Independent Ethics Review Board goes through their process, holds a hearing, and determine a violation has occurred, what can they do? They can send a letter of notification. Hey, guess what? You made a mistake. Don't do it again. It works its way down all the way to number 6 and 7. They can recommend to you that an appointed official should be removed from office because their conduct was so severe. Number 7, because you are elected into office, you can only be removed by election, but they can make a recommendation for that. All of these will be posted on the city's website, and there'll be public information. So, do you have any questions?
Councilmember? No
All
question.
right, now we're going to have the test. So, the purpose of the Code of Ethical Conduct is, and this is where you all get to speak.
It would be 3.
Oh, yeah, I need you to read it so that I know you're paying attention.
To establish standards of ethical conduct for officials, candidates, and those who do business with the city.
Thank you. The purpose of personal conduct and ethical behavior include,
Commitment to the public welfare.
there's 2 blanks.
And fairness.
Fairness.
There it is.
Thank you. If you receive a blank valued at over $100 from a city vendor, you must,
You must file a conflict of interest form.
yes, but which of those
And
items is worth more than
if-
$100?
Candlelit dinner for 2. 2 little prizes for.
All
Sounds
right,
romantic.
thank you. Confidential information obtained during a blank
Close
Go executive session.
can,
Not be used.
I'm very impressed with you all. If you would financially benefit from a contract in which the city is considering purchasing,
File a conflict of interest form. You should file a conflict of interest form.
what's the first blank?
To the tune of taking.
Thank you, Councilman Jacobson. Glow-in-the-dark ID badges. If a relative will receive a financial benefit from an item on an agenda for consideration, you should blank and blank.
Abstain. File a conflict.
If you have to abstain from voting on an agenda item, you should blank and then blank.
Leave the meeting. Wait outside till it's finished.
And then start dancing.
All right. Then start dancing. Yes, sir. If you own property within 200 feet from a zoning item on the agenda for consideration, you must blank and blank. Well, thank you. To file an ethics complaint, a blank must be blank.
Signed and sworn is second portion.
Thank you so very much for your time. Gold star for everyone.
Thank you, Meredith. Item number 8, City Council City Manager reports. William, we'll start with you.
Well, a lot's happened since we met last, but one very important thing, especially since Stuart is on virtual right now. On October 25th, you and I attended the Sugarwood 2023 annual meeting, and now I understand why Stuart says District 3 is so amazing. And his constituents wanted me to say that at the next council meeting in front of Stuart, so I just did.
Very good, William. Jennifer. Michelle.
Mayor, about a week ago, I entertained a company called Beyond International at Smart Financial. Beyond International, Brian's here as well. Him and his lovely wife were there. He, this was right before your surgery. This happened, and a great company here in Sugar Land. They make cosmetic products and teeth whiteners and do big business for us.
Thank you, Sean. Stuart.
Thank you, Mayor. Yesterday, Suzanne and I attended a ribbon, and since it was district, I'll let her.
Thank you, Stuart. Carol.
I attended a Friends of Child Advocates of Fort Bend Coffee just to get an update on what all they're doing. And most of council attended a ribbon cutting for House of Blooms expansion, and that's just a really great story with Pat Hoke. And Nashad and I attended the Greater Houston Partnership's Future of the Houston Region event at the Marriott, and Elizabeth Huff, our Director of the Office of Economic Development, was one of the speakers.
Suzanne.
Thank you. What Stuart Jacobson was referring to was yesterday he and I went to St. Thomas University, the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program, to welcome them to Sugar Land. They have an accelerated program where nurses can graduate in 12 months. They are here now with 21,819 square feet, and welcome. We're excited to have them.
Nothing from me. Item number 8, City Manager report. Mike.
Mayor, I just want to thank our staff that's worked hard on getting ready for a big party this weekend. We're going to have about 30,000 visitors coming to our great city, and looking forward to a successful event and all of the lessons we will learn, because this is the biggest one we've done, and looking forward to it, Mayor.
Yeah, wonderful. Item number 9, closed executive session. 9A, closed executive session is authorized by Chapter 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with 551074 personnel matters. And at this time, we're going to recess into the council dining room. There we go. Good night. See you later.
Thank you. I told them they're looking ahead. We thought we were going to start the meeting early. They went to test it and they were like, oh, you lost 40% of your strength.